Chris Needham, and I'm talking with Dr. Douglas Reeves, founder of the Leadership and Learning Centre in Boston and author of Renewal Coaching, published by Jossie Bass. Douglas, I want to talk to you about your research in educational leadership. And I'm wondering if we could start at that really important intersection between the school leader's actions, say the principal of a school, and the relationship between those actions on the one hand and student outcomes on the other hand.
You know, there's 30 years of research on this, and frankly it surprises me that it's still a controversial issue, but it is. As recently as a few weeks ago, I've witnessed very well-respected people say to thousands of administrators, don't bother trying to close the achievement gap. You can't. There's too many societal problems. All it does is demoralize your colleagues when you assume that that can be done. Now, I think there's 30 years of research on the other side. John Goodlad, in the 1980s, 2,500 case studies. The faculty is the same, the budget's the same, the kids are the same. Leadership made the difference. In the 1990s, Robert Marzano and my colleague Brian McNulty, Tim Waters at McCrell came together with a meta-analysis. And again, 21 characteristics that said when leaders engage in those, it is directly related to first and second order change. And now, in the 21st century, my colleagues and I at the Leadership and Learning Center have done quantitative analyses, more than 2,000 schools, international selection. The same conclusion, specific leadership actions related to improved student achievement. Now, nobody is saying that demographic characteristics such as language and poverty are irrelevant. They are relevant. But what we are also saying is that what leaders do to create a better environment for teachers and for student learning has a clear, measurable, and profound impact on student learning. And what we've been able to do is to isolate what those are. It's quite interesting when you have those three researchers I told you about over 3 decades, 3 different methods, case studies, meta-analyses, and quantitative analyses, all converging on common causes. Things like leadership values, things like monitoring of what the adults do, things like focusing on a few things that have the greatest impact on student achievement. Those characteristics, even as researchers and decades change, remain remarkably consistent.
And what are the leadership actions that you believe have the most impact?
Well, beware the silver bullet. Beware of anybody who says there's a cause for an effect. What our latest research through using factor analysis suggests is that it's not a cause, but a combination of causes. Let me illustrate with a common example. I wish, because I work in professional development all the time, I could tell you professional development causes improved student learning. That is not a true statement, and I know it's oftentimes said, and people will be shocked to hear me make that assertion, but in isolation it doesn't. Professional development does improve student learning when it is linked with 2 other variables, which is focus, meaning 6 or fewer goals at the school level, monitoring, meaning we're monitoring not only what the children are doing in terms of achievement, but we're monitoring adult practices, and thirdly, that professional development is linked explicitly to student needs. Now that is the opposite of the typical superficial march through. I saw a system the other day that had 112 different professional development topics. By contrast, the highly effective ones with which we work will say, here's the 6 things we're going to work on this year, and we're going to study them deeply and consistently and measure our progress. That's what makes professional learning have an impact on student achievement.
So it's that narrow and concise focus in what's being done.
Narrow, concise, consistent, and deep. In other words, not the typical superficiality of being exposed to a concept, but practicing it, applying it. Think about it. The things we take seriously in education, whether it's rugby in your country or football in ours, we don't read books about or listen to seminars. We practice them. We do them. We get relatively brutal feedback about them and then get even better. I'm just asking that we ought to take leadership and teaching at least as seriously as we take our regular athletic contests. We know what works. It's time to apply it.
Thank you.